Do you see this? I saw this a while back and my eyes glazed over as if someone just said the sky is blue. To see this kind of BS with over 70,000 likes. This is the pathetic level of cheerleading one needs to display on social media to get conservatives to like you. I would read older books from previous eras. I was reading Henry Maine's Popular Government a while ago. He was a British Whig. This was written in the late 1800s. And then you see crap like this. 2022, this is what gets the conservative base fired up. What should be the most innocuous of common sense statements ever. How are we so advanced, yet this utter infantile babble is what dominates our politics? If you had said even 10 years ago, this would be a contentious thing to say in democratic circles. If you said a nominated Supreme Court justice couldn't define what a woman is, and that she in fact got a seat on the Supreme Court of the United States, people would think you were insane. But here we are. There are tribes that have never seen electricity, for heaven's sakes, that are more advanced than us socially right now, who would mock us for our stupidity, and they would be correct. Am I the only one who finds that utterly embarrassing? Am I the only one who thinks this is so humiliating for Western civilization? I remember when Matt Walsh released the What is a Woman documentary, I just wept. I looked at that and went, no, this is ridiculous. The fact that this was even made at all is beyond stupid at this point. But the reason we're stuck in this stupid paradigm is because of liberalism. It is because of the Enlightenment, especially having adopted this libertarian kind of mentality when it comes to the social aspect of society. This pathetically weak-willed idea of appeasement instead of a hardline, no, we are not going to tolerate this bullshit and you're an idiot. That whole, well, you can do whatever you want as long as you aren't harming somebody else. That is a very weak position, and this is where libertarianism fails. For example, take the argument of the pronoun people. That group can be exploited by the state to further increase its power, because the harm the pronoun hippies claim to experience is subjective. Because your speech constitutes harm in their world, they can claim a moral high ground when but your speech is violated. Their feelings will trump your freedom when the state is involved, because the state wants to increase its power under the guise of protection. That is the nature of the damn state. Libertarians, or their ideology rather, is not sufficient in this regard. It doesn't take into account that in order for humans to navigate the world around them, they need tools to understand it, and those tools will be formulated and delivered through miscellaneous institutions, be it the family, private education, the church, etc. A society without these cornerstone institutions that impart the wisdom and traditions that made the society function and stable would otherwise leave the citizenry vulnerable to propaganda. They can be exploited. Your institutions must be regulated tightly by some organ that protects and maintains that function against the forces that promulgate the propaganda. Let me ask a question. What is the libertarian ethic? I know some would say, leave me the hell alone. That's not an ethic, that's a value. You value freedom, to be left alone. But you're not telling why being left alone is good, merely that it is a value. There are times where it's better that you are not left alone, where you would benefit from outside assistance. And then what is the guiding principle that would make such an interaction moral? What makes for good moral judgment in that scenario? Is it that it's voluntary? Is it the intended outcome? What makes for a good social order in the libertarian world? How does this freedom you covet facilitate the action that you wish to undertake? What do you wish to be free to do exactly? And what would be the benefits thereof to you and the society around you? Because you can't have true freedom. That would mean the collapse of any and all standards, and you would induce deterioration. The usual pro-libertarian stance is against the state because it's parasitic. It stifles growth and creativity and inhibits the incentive structures that propels humans to create a flourishing, prosperous society. Okay, so your material well-being, well, there's a case for your freedom. The libertarian argument for social cohesion rests quite heavily on this, the reciprocity of wealth creation via trade and free market principles. Very much the Frederick Bastiat, if goods don't cross the border, soldiers will sort of principle. It's a good economic philosophy. However, material well-being is not sufficient to live a fulfilling life. Look at those of the celebrity class. Many are a train wreck, drugged up or drunk out of their gore. Well, you can say it's hell trying to maintain status and relativity in this ever-increasingly interconnected world. Definitely a case to be made for that. But many are just bored shitless. Pure libertarianism, you'd have no problem with this, seeing as they aren't harming anyone else, but are they a good influence on the social fabric? I would argue no, or Hell, look at the left sphere of modern-day America through a political lens. Socially, they are eating themselves alive. They're a powder keg. They are materially better off, yet they're all insufferably miserable. Why? Because their lives aren't fulfilling. So they're susceptible to gravitating towards movements that wish to cultivate some hopelessly utopian kind of society, the vision of the anointed, as Thomas Sowell puts it. They don't have a religious outlet in their lives, and so this need ends up manifesting itself more often than not in the worship and ceding of power to the state. And considering it's a democratic society the West inhabits, this ceding of power is also done involuntarily on others through the democratic process, which if you're a libertarian, you would find this abhorrent because a consequence of the growth of the state is an encroachment on your personal freedom. It would be wise for libertarians to push for a resurgence of the Christian faith and church, of good family structure, because strong moral families are enemies to the growth of government. The Christian faith is your best bet for morality, plus it doesn't make any laws, it's voluntary. If you're a conservative, that's your best pitch to libertarians. The point I'm trying to make here is this. It doesn't necessarily need to be centralized. I know for those of you who aren't monarchists, that's a dirty word, but considering you have a plurality in society, you need almost some hereditary mechanism to keep the morality foundation of your civilization rooted and strong, to keep it going from one generation to the next. To quote Ronald Reagan, freedom is a fragile thing and is never more than one generation away from extinction. And that is all for today. I will see you all next time.